Here, next part. I wrote down 9 ways that this guy tried to keep me quiet and make me feel like I was being a bad Christian and it was my fault. So first goes back to one I already shared, and that is he was grooming my kid right in front of me. So the natural result or the natural conclusion to that would be, if I wished your kid harm, then I would not be doing it in front of you. Because I was doing it in front of you, I must be innocent. You are the bad person for trying to make me feel bad for the way I was talking to your kid in front of you. Grooming right in front of me is number 1, trying to intimidate me into not protecting my child. Number 2, this is where, and I tell it much more in detail in the previous video that happened earlier this afternoon. Number 2, he refused to shake my hand. So when I realized something fishy was going on here, I decided, and honestly, I will tell you, I have never confronted someone like this in my life. So this was a first time for me. This is not what I just go around doing all the time, getting up in people's faces. But this, like I said, it had all my Preydar going off. And so I decided I was gonna go over, because I didn't even know this person's name. I decided I was gonna go over, get their name, shake their hand, and let them know I was watching them. Because here, another side thing, do you know the difference between a soft target and a hard target? A soft target is easy prey. A hard target is gonna take a lot of work. You can make your church, your school, your club, whatever environment you're in where children might be in danger, you can make it a harder target by being someone who finds out who other people are. By being someone who is clearly visible and openly watching out for the safety of the children. That means that the person who may wish to do children harm is going to be less likely to, a certain type of predator is going to be less likely to prey here. They're gonna wanna look somewhere else where it'll be easier pickings. So hard target means you go over, you sit, you say hi, you shake hands, you look them in the eyes, and you say, hi, who are you? What are you doing here? And that does not mean you're having to be mean and ugly and unchristlike, because I tell you what, Jesus said that if you're going to be the kind of person to hurt a little kid, there's a place you belong, and it's on the ocean with a millstone around your neck. So he wasn't particularly fond of people who hurt kids either, and Jesus would have been all over being a hard target, not a soft target. So when I went over to this person, I stuck my hand out right there, and I already talked about this in the other video, but this time I am going to tell you what he did, not what I did. So what he did, and this is how he was trying to intimidate me, he refused to shake my hand because he was playing a head game with me, trying to make me back down. And naturally, in any given scenario, that would probably be pretty easy to do. He just didn't know who he was messing with. So as a woman, he would expect me, he's a tall, bigger guy, much older than me, and it would be very natural if he leans back, pulls away from me, makes me wait, dabs his mouth with his napkin. And my hand is still sitting there. What are you naturally gonna do, right? You're gonna realize, oh, he doesn't wanna shake my hand. And after like 2 seconds, you're gonna pull it back, and then you're gonna just be like, that now you're the person coming as kind of the supplicant. Well, I didn't do that. I kept it there for a long time until it became awkward. And then I still kept it there longer. And the whole point was, he was trying to get me to back down so that he would gain the upper hand in the situation, because he could tell I wasn't happy about something. In fact, I think he could tell that I wasn't happy about it when he left my table where he'd been chatting at my son right in front of me. Number 3, his immediate response was blame shifting and redirecting. So I expressed directly and straightforward, without accusing. I didn't say what he was doing or that he was doing anything bad. I just said, I don't know you, and I saw you speaking to my children. I'd like to get acquainted. What's your name? He told me his name, or the name that he chose to tell me. How do I know? But he told me a name, and then he immediately shifted into defense. No apology, no, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Let me let me make this better. I did not mean to worry you as a protective parent. None of that. Now, does that mean that a slicker, different type of predator might not give all the right answers? No, they could totally do that, but not this profile. So at this point, he says, he launches into defense mode. Into offense mode. You're really upset. You're not being very friendly to me. In other words, the subliminal message is, you are a bad Christian and you're making me not want to be here at your church. Why are you not being friendly? Well, you know what? I wasn't being unfriendly. I was just checking him out. And I was asking if we could get acquainted. But he immediately launched into blame shifting and redirecting, shifting the blame right back at me as though I'm the bad person for wanting to watch out for the safety of the children in this church. That's number 3. Number 4 out of 9 ways that he tried to silence me and make sure that he had the power was minimizing and justifying. He straight up said, I'm not out of line. I didn't do anything wrong. Trying to intimidate me into backing off from my claim, because even though I didn't say it, he knew exactly where I was going. Do you know how he knew exactly where I was going? Because that was the intention in his head. If he had been completely innocent, he would not even have thought about it. He wouldn't have had answers ready to deflect and not to minimize and justify and try to tell me that he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was working way too hard to make me believe that he was innocent. Next, he told me I'm overreacting and I'm being too sensitive. And that was when I said, you don't get to tell me how to parent and protect, not parent, but protect my children. Because at this point, he's making me trying to make me feel like I am the overreacting, hypersensitive one. That is a classic predatorial tactic. As long as you make the victim, me, feel like as long as you make the victim feel like they are the ones who are causing the problem by overreacting to treatment they should never have received in the first place, then the predator is off scot-free and they have successfully bounced all the attention off of themselves onto everyone else and placed the other person, their victim, in the spotlight as the person needing to act nicer. Number 6, then he started playing the victim. Well, that was a little bit later. That was after I had gotten up, finished the conversation, and then I had gone and sat down with 2 other men who were part of our security team at our church. I love my church. I just gotta say, love my church. Love how the people at my church actively and aggressively look out for the well-being of children and vulnerable and elderly at my church. So I know a lot of churches don't have that kind of environment and you need a better one, but that's something I'm really thankful for. So I was discussing this at another table and this man walked over into our conversation and began telling the 2 men how I'd gotten it wrong. He initiated a conversation without even being certain that I was talking to the 2 men about him, because he just walked over. He was right, I was, but he had no way of knowing that. That means he was really overreaching to try to make sure he had image repair. He was wanting to make sure we didn't believe, that they didn't believe me. That's what I'm trying to say. So he began telling those 2 men that I misunderstood him, that we have talked before, that we are prior acquaintances. He even pulled out past information from a public newspaper article and referenced that to try to make it look like I had forgotten who he was. He acted a little wounded and shocked that I had forgotten who he was. Like it was somehow, he was the victim here, that he was the wounded party. Well, then that leads me to number 7, leveraging private information, or not private information, leveraging past information or kind of insider information. Like, remember that newspaper article? We had a whole conversation about that. And trying to make it sound like, again, I'm the one who's overreacting and has pigeonholed him as an unsafe person in a way that was inappropriate. So let's go back. That's 7 out of our 9. Number 1, he was grooming right in front of me. 2, totally trying to play with my head by refusing to shake my hand and make me wait until long past the point of uncomfortable awkwardness in order to maintain control of the situation, and I didn't let him get away with it. 3, blame shifting and redirecting, making it all about me being upset instead of about what he had done wrong to make me upset. And I wasn't even really upset. I was just talking kind of like this. So I wasn't losing my cool or anything, but he was trying to make it all about me. 4, minimizing and self-justifying, that he did nothing wrong, he did nothing out of line. 5, telling me I was overreacting and making it about me being emotional instead of about him doing something wrong. Again, I wasn't actually emotional. He was just feeling the heat because I was confronting him over inappropriate behavior. And 6, playing the victim and acting like I had targeted him instead of me confronting him over him targeting my kid. And 7, leveraging information that would, and I'm getting a message from someone, and I will get back to you about that. Leveraging information to try to make it sound like he's more of an insider than he actually is, even though I have absolutely no recollection of ever having interacted with this person before. Now, 2 more. 8, deflecting attention, putting it back on me. This is part of that playing the victim, but this comes in with refusal to apologize. If a person with a healthy conscience realizes they have made a parent feel that their child is unsafe, they would be horrified. Someone who is not horrified at the fact that they've made someone else feel the child might be unsafe is not a safe person with an active conscience. So when they are justifying why they weren't unsafe instead of apologizing for having made someone feel unsafe, you have a problem with that person's conscience. And that is another huge red flag. So his refusal to apologize and deflecting attention was still trying to silence me and make sure I did not, successfully rally the security individuals to realize that he was a person of unsafety. And number 9, the last one, distraction. He stood there, again, past the point of awkward uncomfortableness, and he stood there where I was seated. He's standing. I'm seated with these 2 gentlemen from my church, security people, protective dads, great individuals, they're onto him. And then he starts talking about something completely unrelated, kind of a conspiracy theory, theological weirdness. And it's an ancient history, like cycles of the moon stuff. So at that point, it had nothing to do with the conversation, nothing to do with anything we were interested in. And the only reason to do that was to distract by changing the subject and try to re-engage their attention with him, to take it away from me and make sure that he ended on a note of power to get them back talking to him and bring down their suspicions and break down their barriers. This whole time I was sitting there maintaining eye contact and watching his every move. It wasn't until I broke that contact, looked at my phone, and basically acted like I had lost interest in his attempts to re-engage them and to turn those 2 men into his allies, that he decided he was going to go ahead and go. And then he just kind of dropped the conversation and walked out the door. It was so clear that he was not actually interested in the distraction conversation. It was a tactic. It was a tool to regain power and to keep things going in his direction. So not every predator follows that pattern, but that is a classic profile. Things that you can watch for in your church. If you see someone doing these kind of things, listen to your Preydar, listen to your gut instinct, listen when your gut goes off and you're thinking that's not right. If something feels like it's not right, ask questions. Questions are not going to send somebody to jail, but it might keep a child safe from someone who belongs in jail, okay? Do not be afraid. Don't be too shy. Don't be too non-confrontational, because in the world that we live in, places like churches where everybody's always talking about trust and love and 56th chances are fabulous feeding grounds for people who don't want someone to ask questions about what they're up to. Keep your kids safe. All right, now, share this. tell it to your friends, post it on your page, keep the message out there, post it on your church's page, send it to your pastor. And if you haven't watched the original page where I broke down the whole story, check that out. It's going to be in the link of the description of this video. Have a great weekend, y'all.